Hi, thank you for tuning into Publishift's first podcast. My name is Samar Albaz, and today we're going to be interviewing Nathan Maharaj from Kobo. Before we start with the questions we sent you, do you want to just give a brief introduction of yourself?
Sure. So my name is Nathan Maharaj. I am the Director of Merchandising for Kobo. Mm-hmm. And I've been here since just before the launch of Kobo. So when I joined Short Covers, mm-hmm. Which was a pilot project that operated under Indigo. And on December 15th, 2009, it spun off and became became Kobo rather. And I was with the company only a couple weeks prior to that. Prior to that, I was with Indigo as a category manager buying books. So I come from the side of bookstores. Mm-hmm. And yes, I've been at Kobo ever since, directing the merchandising team, which really amounts to the team within Kobo whose job it is to know all about books. And my core deliverables are pricing and selection, mm-hmm. and as far as business contribution, it's margin. That's the key number that comes out of my team.
Okay, I see. That's pretty cool. So, what is your stance on digital versus printed materials? And do you think that there's a chance that printing will become obsolete in the future?
I don't think printing is ever going to become obsolete. I just don't. I think digital's making huge inroads, and it's swallowing some categories whole. Certainly, the industry reports that you see now are showing that the format that's most under threat from digital, if you can even call it a threat, because it's still selling books, they're just printers aren't getting paid for paper, I guess, at this point. It's mass market paperbacks. It's the stuff that comes in the in the wire rack in the drugstore. That's the stuff that's instantly moved to digital. I think it's about instantaneous fulfillment. I think that's what drives that. It's the reader who's highly engaged with a genre, and that's what they want. And that's what they want to read. They want to read a lot of it, and digital makes that. It solves a problem for that reader. Okay. But more readers are coming on board, so we're seeing a broadening. But I don't see books aren't going to disappear. I expect that my son will be buying books for his kids. Maybe not as many as I bought for him. Yeah. Maybe more apps for whatever magical pad device we've all had implanted in our hands and retinas.
Yes.
But I don't see books going away. I certainly see the industry sort of reorganizing around a different way to deliver content to consumers.
That's perfect. Okay, cool. Okay, thank you. All right, for question 2 then, do you have any advice for publishers, and do you think that all publishers should now invest in having their books published both digitally and on paper?
You know what? I don't have. I wouldn't tell a publisher how to do their jobs. And what I'm seeing is a lot of publishers making some really smart decisions about digital publishing. Mm-hmm. The question of whether to publish an ebook or not is gone. Everyone's just doing it. It's not something anybody's on the fence about anymore. Right. Where I remember the Christmas of 2009, on Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, mm-hmm. and Boxing Day, what we saw were the release of the latest books by Stephen King, Ted Kennedy, and Sarah Palin. And those books actually didn't get released on the 24th, 25th, 26th. Those are the ebooks. The books had been out in stores for months prior to that. That didn't happen in 2010, and it's not going to happen in 2011. Simultaneous release is just the way everyone's going. So publishers don't need me to help them with this. I can help them with other things in terms of what's actually selling, but as far as making digital products, we're seeing some great innovation, and it's wonderful to watch, to be the frontier of this remaking of book selling and publishing.
Yeah. That's pretty cool. Okay, so what has Kobo done to differentiate itself in a saturated market, and how is that different from other e-readers?
So do you think it's saturated, really?
Pretty saturated, I would say. I mean, there's only a few products out there that actually are e-readers that I can think of, at least.
Okay. So I would say that's a sign of not saturation.
Sorry. Clearly, I'm really good at this. Sorry.
It sounds like pretty blue ocean to me. That's okay.
Yeah. Sorry.
So, and it also depends on what market you're talking about. Like in fairness, I think one could say that the U.S. is a saturated market. In some respects, in other respects, it's still wide open. Most people are still reading paper books, and they're reading the paper books that were the first books that digital customers, that they took on. These are the books that got people to jump the digital divide, and those books are still selling in print.
Yeah.
So digital's still a minority activity. It's growing crazy, but it's not the mainstream yet. We can forget that when we see it growing so rapidly and living it day to day. So is your question what has Kobo the organization done, or Kobo? Do you want me to talk to the device? Whatever our latest device is specifically.
Oh, whichever one you're more comfortable with, I guess.
Okay, so I'm going to leave the device alone because hardware I don't work in hardware development. They use me as a very cranky and difficult tester, but I don't make any contribution other than that. Okay. And then of course I become their biggest fans because I love my Kobo Touch and I cannot be separated from it.
Oh, okay.
But in terms of what Kobo's doing to differentiate itself, one of the space we don't see our competitors occupying is the social space, and we're investing heavily in building out, in keeping the conversation about books, keeping it going in the digital space. I mean, as people, as these private spheres pop up around people when they're reading digitally, when they're, you can read in a public place on your e-reader and nobody knows what you're reading. Nobody can walk up to you and say, "Oh my God, I've read that. Oh, you're halfway through. Oh, I'm not going to spoil it for. Oh, it's so good." Nobody can do that because they just don't know what you're reading. Yeah. Which is great if you're reading things that you're embarrassed to be caught reading. But and we sell a lot of that. Okay. But we're working on a number of things. Reading Life is one of them, which is a sort of a set of functions that we've built into our latest device, and it's built into all of our apps. Mm-hmm. What is that? And it's to facilitate the sharing of reading activity to Facebook. So I do this all the time, where I stumble across a passage that's just either superb or terrible. Yeah. And my wife has had enough of me, so I instead of looking up from the book and reading it to her, sharing with her what I think about this, because like I say, she's heard plenty of that already, and she's going to hear plenty more. Yeah. I share it to Facebook, and then my friends can see it, and my friends can see that I'm reading this book, and this passage is fantastic, and what they do with that, there are commercial upsides to that kind of thing, but the thing we love is it's just cool to find new ways to talk about books and new dimensions in which to share what you're reading.
Okay, that's pretty cool. That sounds really neat.
It is, and I want to tell you what we're about to launch at the end of this week, and I am not allowed to, but oh my God, it's cool. Oh, okay, I guess I'll have to wait then. But I'm excited now. Do you have iOS devices, an iPad or iPod Touch or anything?
No, not just yet, but I'm really considering it. Just doing this project, it's like kind of opened up to the entire market. It's like, oh wow, I should really invest in one of these.
Yeah. I mean, the iPod Touch is a good way to keep track of what's going on in the app space without having to sign onto a cellular plan or anything like that. Yeah. We've got some functionality coming in iOS that's really fantastic, and it's kind of addictive and crazy, and I can't wait.
Okay, I'm kind of glad I haven't gotten anything yet, so I should wait for this. Okay.